What's good, guys, and welcome to episode 3, yes, 3 of podcast Yarona, proudly brought to you by Nedbank and the Nedbank Cup. Yeah, as you know, my name is Brian Baloyi, aka Brownsman, aka Danky Baba. I'm not skipped a lot of those in the nickname, but guys, I'm just excited. I'm excited because today's episode is absolutely iconic. I am sitting with two players who are absolute GOATs in our country in their positions. I am talking two players who represented our country at the World Cup, respectively. Number one. Number two, had looks so iconic on the field, people will remember and are still rocking them till today. Guys, I am just honored to introduce to you, firstly, the GOAT goalkeeper in South African football history, probably the most decorated, successful, probably the most experienced, boasting 300 games for Kaizer Chiefs. Guys, I am talking about the one and only Spider-Man before Marvel existed. Mr. Brian Spider Baloyi.
Hey, Jack.
How are you, Brian?
Very well, thank you.
I'm well. And secondly, guys, this episode is unreal a little bit. I have the GOAT midfielder, the navigator, the Don. Guys, I am talking a magician who made the World Cup everything it was for us as South Africans. I'm talking about someone who rocked the pink boots like it was a new fashion statement. The white sock is on top of it. One of the most iconic midfielders that has ever played the game in South Africa, that his name echoes all over Europe till this day. I am telling you about the one, the only, Teko Modise.
Wait.
Teko.
How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Easy.
I'm gonna get straight into it. Like, you guys were absolute GOATs. Like, both positions, Brian, you defined goalkeeping in South Africa. I think every goalkeeper looked up to you, still does probably, you had everything, distribution, you had the agility, you had the anticipation, it was all there. And then Bratona, midfield-wise, you were done, you were weaving in and out of people, you were starting the plays, you unlocking teams, you scoring, you guys were the total package in your guys' positions. Oh. Now you guys are influencers. I'm talking about fashionista. I've got an ambassador.
I didn't see that coming.
Can penetrate.
I'm trying to keep a straight face because I know Primo. Never say for this one. Yeah, no, you never.
Now that you've kind of, flipped the whole thing on its head, and you're in these totally different realms, how has it been since leaving the game, Because you guys left at your guys' peak. Like, there's very few soccer players who can say they left the game where you guys left it. How has it been since leaving? And, how do you deal? What do you miss,
For me personally, I think I miss having fun. That's the place, that was my happy place, being on the field, and used to have so much fun. I knew my responsibility was to entertain, but again, my biggest responsibility was to make sure that I'm happy.
Sure.
And I used to do everything, just go out there, have fun. That was the most important thing.
It looked harder than it was fun, I won't lie to you. Prateko, is there anything particularly that you miss, since leaving the game? I mean, it hasn't been the longest time, but, how's that been?
I think I just miss the pressure of big games. The prep that comes with just the pressure of big games. Because it's exciting, because now you're prepping for the game differently. You train differently, you eat differently, you sleep a little bit early. There's people that you don't want to have a conversation with over the phone because they've got the bad omayana. So just enjoy the process of going through a big game. I think the pressure that builds in, I think I miss that, because then it's... And also, like, for now, it always gave me a reason to be more competitive. Because then if we're playing, for argument's sake, if we're playing Orlando Pirates today, I'm in Sundowns. And if people are still talking about Maswanga and how good he is, on Saturday I'm going to show him that I'm actually better. Yeah. So those are games that made me, want to do better. And I just miss the preparation, because I'll read about everybody. Yeah. I won't say anything. I'll read and listen to all the radio station, what everybody's saying. And I know who in my own terms and in my own ways, I'm going to flip all these things and just turn it around.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's
and the adrenaline, that's what you mean, the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Like he says, there's nothing like, I think both we played for Sundowns. And when, nothing but, with Sundowns, Chiefs still a very big game.
Yeah.
Pirates, Sundowns, but there's nothing like a derby.
A derby, yeah.
And the adrenaline, when you're on the field, when you're seeing Soccer City's full to capacity. And
everybody's And you guys, towards the end of your career, you guys kind of overlapped.
Yeah.
What would you say are the biggest differences between the game? I mean, you saw 2 levels of the game, and now you've seen what it is now. And I think, Teko, you've seen the latter level of the game, and then now. What are the differences, the major differences that you can say stand out between the types of football, the mentalities, just tactics per se, majorly?
I never like to compare generations, but I'll tell you one thing. For me, I always say to people that football is a reflection of society. So when you see, because the type of people, these young kids that are playing football themselves, they don't come from an island. They're part of society. So the type of quality or the type of quality of a person that comes out of it is not shaped by football. It's shaped by society. So and unfortunately, so a lot of times we start comparing. But I never like to. But if there's one thing that I believe is a big difference with the generation today to the generation before us, is that I think today, I believe players are overcoached, especially once they're younger. And because where you learn to be creative, to do is when you're playing one ball, just playing. And because the skill and all of this, you're not going to teach this, but today they teach it. And I think that's the biggest fundamental difference for me. And but we hope that football, but football has evolved.
Sure.
And there's some great players today that I marvel to watch, like Mshishi, but unfortunately he's at the tail end of his career. I'm loving what I'm seeing at Pirates with a lot of the youngsters that are playing there. I'm hoping other clubs. I saw a young boy now at Arrows that Coach Steve is encouraging to, so I'm hoping that we'll see more of that, because that's what South African football is about. It's about creativity. It's about players having fun. The supporters. At the end of the day, as footballers, what footballers today need to be taught is that you are an entertainer.
Sure.
More than before anything else. So you need to understand that when you go on the field, you have to go into character.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, I look. Let me know. I think I still believe that I'm a student of the game because I watch football more than I watch movies still.
That's a movie.
Yeah.
Like I'm a football guy through and through, and when I used to watch both Spider and the guys that were playing in that area, Botab, or you can name all of them. But to Misaningo, like I used to be that guy that can name every team first 11.
True.
Because it was that obvious. Good players were so many. But if there's one thing that I took from that era was there was too many good players in the league. Every team, when you're going to play against any team, you could say 2 or 3 players that were very, very good. Unfortunately, they're not in the national team because Brian is there. Right? Yeah. And then came an era ya Chabu. It was still the same. It was still the same. And then what era ya Rona? Of course, there was like Yoshaba, you could count 8 to 10 players that were very good across board in the PSL. And then it started dying down.
Sure.
Then I started asking myself, okay, so is this the quality of the game in South Africa that is dying down? Or maybe lack of finding the right players to be able to continue this journey of uplifting this game, And I realized one thing, maybe what also becomes one of the tools that actually helps these youngsters sometimes becomes a distraction. We used to wait in line, not literally, but we used to be waiting in line to be profiled. Because I can't be profiled before Steven Pinar, me, bruh. You know, I need to be online. I'm queuing. I need to have like 5 or 6 good games in the national team for me to be profiled, right? And that, what it does is it gives you that hunger to keep going and to keep going, to keep going. Now you have players that are one game, 15 minutes. He's been compared to Brian Baloyi. 10 minutes, that's the next Benny McCarthy. We've been saying the next Benny McCarthy for 20 years.
Yeah.
We will never have one. But because we're starving of anything great, anything that's slightly and that curves, we grab it
with both hands.
You understand? And I strongly believe that if we can let these youngsters just play with freedom, enjoy, because there's going to be a time where freedom will be done. It will be business and business.
Yeah.
17, 16 like Spiders, there's ages that let them enjoy, let them learn to make mistakes then. But we need more of those youngsters to come through. That's why we had under 23s that were good. Your Gift Lorem, your Cheese Boy, they were good because they were
generations of great.
You understand? Right now we can't. We might as well take Stellenbosch team to be under 23 because we don't have too many under 23 good players in the PSL because we don't give them an opportunity to play. So then we can't be. I can't be in a position to say Rele now is the only player that we can speak about. No, there's a lot that we can speak about, but it's just Rele plays for a team that is protecting him, and we can see his qualities growing. He's becoming a very important player for Orlando Pirates. Hey, but can we see others as well in other teams? So that come 5 years down the line, we have 6, 7 players that are quality, they've got the PSL experience, they'll have the national team.
Sure, and
so I think for that's the problem. It's not the standard of football. It's also the competitiveness from the players. Where I used to get pissed by people and they're saying, Brian Baloyi is better than me. I'm like, what? I've got 12 men of the matches back to back. Brian Baloyi is better than me. Okay, cool. Let's go. Next Wednesday, I'm looking at the fixtures. Oh, we're playing Brian Baloyi next Wednesday. Okay, sharp. I'm not even shaking his hand. I'll talk to him after the game. I'm a competitor. I don't want to lose. That's why when people saw me at Orlando Pirates, they say I was unhappy. Hey, guys, look at the log. How much games we're losing there. First season of mine at Orlando Pirates, you're number 8. We've got no business being number 8 at Orlando Pirates. You understand? So, go on this thing out like now you don't have too many players that are competing because it's easy because we're accessible.
Yeah.
I can this with Tobeta, I can be accessible. Yeah.
I was literally about to say that right next is that we were having a discussion, I think on episode 2, with Nassif Morris and Jabu Mahlangu. And the one thing that they said is that a lot of the players coming off a little bit softer mentality-wise is not the same, and that social media might have even be playing a big factor too.
You know why, Primo? Because social media, it's at times it gives you what football wants. Because it's social media, you're in control. You can post. You also post when you were dressing well. There you run for life. But you know that in the game there, you've got no control. So then what it does is like when I lose the game, I hide for 2 days, come back and post an Insta story, just look and see people are looking. Come Friday,
if they still give you that validation that you didn't get at the game or from the coach.
So in our era, we needed validation from the pitch.
Again, if you listen to what Teko is saying, then it goes back to what and what you guys are saying now, with what I mentioned about that the character of the players is shaped by society. And so if you look at, and sometimes when I look at social media today and I look at in our time when I was playing, sometimes I feel for these young people because, but again, the same social media players in Europe, all over the world are using it. So I think for me it's that players, clubs need to understand and how to use them properly, the platforms. But again, like I said, it's a platform where you have no protection. You go on them, and this is what Brashoes, the late Shoes, may his soul rest in peace, used to love. He's saying is that you must learn to take the good with the bad. So social media, just like in anything, there's a good and the bad.
There's a good and a bad.
So footballers and people need to learn and then how to balance it. But at the end of the day, like you're saying, I mean, it's just it teaches us that now what can we do. But for me, I think hopefully, I think over time that the players will start getting more protection from the platforms. But how do they get is about the clubs,
Figuring
teaching them
out these
how to
solutions.
use them. You're a perfect example of how to use social platforms in the right way. You've been able to be an icon in that space.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sometimes when TV is boring, when I'm looking for when I want to laugh, my 9-year-old just pulls out and shows me the stuff that you do. I mean, I wanted to say earlier that what you've done with Lucas, you've made him come out of his shell.
Bruh.
He's doing things that he would have never.
I was like,
and I keep saying to my
Hey,
wife,
hot man, fella,
I look
yeah,
how
yeah.
you've been able to help him.
I can just
So-
imagine the conversations though. Because like to see the side of him, it's so nice. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, so then there you see that so it's just then
That's the positive.
side of it. But again, I mean, we have lovely players.
Yeah.
This generation, I think, what we saw at the Nations Cup
Yes.
is
Very
that
promising.
there is promise. There is really, but I think you look at the older generation that has to. For me, I'm saying, for us, if the coach must use Mshishi as much as possible, mustn't say, okay, maybe 2026 he won't be there at the World Cup. I can't use him now. Use him. He helps us qualify.
Yeah.
If that time he's still playing, if he's good enough, you play him. We've seen Roger Millers and all. We've seen Buffon just retired.
Over 40.
Almost 44. It's how you use them.
And I feel like in the hopes of us, qualifying well and doing well in the next World Cup, what would be one sentiment, especially after seeing AFCON, that was kind of like a standard setter. Now we know that Rowan can kind of, take up the title of Spider a little bit if we want to, with the performances. The only time we've seen a keeper under such a high pressure game pulling off penalty saves like that was honestly with you, and the only time we've seen a midfielder kind of take charge of the whole complexion of the game, because I feel like when Mshishi wasn't at the peak, the team wasn't at its peak. They were basically breathing in and around him. What is one sentiment, since now we're starting to see similarities, here and there, little bit, there's a bit of a lot more promise. If you were to leave one sentiment with the boys for them to go and represent us and go kill it at the next World Cup, what would it be?
They went in there against all odds. No one gave them a chance that they would get to and almost got to the final. It was just that one kick.
Yeah.
Just that one, that one miss that was, where could be easily the easiest chance in the game. That could have, but that's the nature and the exciting part of football. But if there's one thing I would say to the boys is, every game they play, they must go back to dig deeper to where they were when they were at the tournament, because they had something that that unified them, and they had this thing that they and that's what you need to. Every game you play, when you play football, that's what they need to do. So and get to a point where you are not choosing games. When you go on the field, you have that place that you go to, that you dig deeper, and that's what I would say to them. That's what they need to do.
Oh, guys, get your shovels ready and please start digging. Please.
I would possibly say, man, maybe more or less the same thing that Spider's saying. Just remember how good you are. Especially in difficult situations, difficult times. Just remember how good you are, because sometimes we second guess ourselves. Especially when you're playing against so-called the best in the world, and because of the unity that we had in that national team, I'm just hoping and I'm praying to the coach that unity is important, and it creates excitement from other players to want to play for the national team. We've been saying the national team pride had died before. It's because people didn't see the necessity to play for the national team. Now we have a reason to play for the national team. Have the core. with that core, everyone that comes in that is new got to learn the trades of the national team, what it means to play for the national team.
Yeah.
What is it that we did there at Cote d'Ivoire for us to survive? You need that. 1996 won because they had a core team. We went on to become third because we had a core team. Forget about who's playing for who locally. We don't care. We had a national team that was one.
That was
So
united.
we can't chop and change. We need continuity from that. And I strongly believe that we do have the team. They've showed us that we have a team. And even the coach himself changed. He understands now that we have a team. And I just hope that with all the other good players that are doing well this season, they can be added into that.
All the youngsters that are
All the
really
youngsters.
showing out,
And they need to travel with the team even if they don't play, because then they get to understand they don't have a shock whenever they're given a chance to play. 2008, when we went to AFCON, the first AFCON that I went to with the national team, Itu didn't even play, but he was part of the team. 2008, when he came back in the league, Itu was one of the best
number one
goalkeepers.
goalkeepers in the continent.
Exactly.
Arguably.
So all these young players that are not being, the chances are they might not been given a chance, but you give them encouragement that you are part of the team. I'm seeing you, I look at you. So come here so that you can understand what the national team is all about. And I'm sure that you can have your relay there, your Titans. There's a lot of youngsters that are doing great this season. And I'm sure that Coach Hugo Bruce is watching them.
Yeah, I hope so too. Boy, Ikram Reyners, all these guys from Stellenbosch, all the youngsters that are killing it in Pirates.
Those ones. Those Stellies boys.
Scary team.
Yeah, no,
Very scary team.
No.
Okay, and then lastly, right, a lot of the complexion of the PSL has changed. You know, a lot of teams have been swallowed up by other teams. You know, I mean, we have the introduction of Royal AM. There's so many other people, but if we go back to the teams that have fallen away to make way for these guys, you know, Boma Santos, Bloemfontein Celtic, you know, Bidvest, I think
Free State Stars.
Free State Stars,
Nedbank Aces, or
you know, Mpumalanga Black
Mpumalanga
Aces
Black
at the
Aces,
time. Would we be able to rank right now with with about these teams in their peak? Would we be able to kind of just put them in that rank from 1 to 5? I think those are all the teams. I think
That made way.
the ones that fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be able to rank like I remember Bloem Celtic at their prime. Basically, they were so close to taking everything they were supposed to take because also how big the support was behind it. You know how defined.
Especially that coach Dolazan, eh? Yeah.
But I mean, out of all of those teams, if you look, one team out of those that had been consistent for many years, and one team that it didn't matter when you knew when you went to go play them at home, Mill Park, Wits is one team I would say out of those for me is one team I would say definitely a team that today would make an impact, still make and make the league more competitive. That's one team that was always in the top 4 in the league, and in the cup competitions, you do that.
Took a league. Took one.
Love to miss Celtics.
What I miss about Celtics is the supporters.
The tough man.
And I have stories about Celtics that I remember one time we played them, and so the soccer stadium was not available, and they opted to use the cricket stadium. And in those days, we used to beat them mostly 1-0 in Bloem. I think it has been like a season every 3 that we keep beating them 1-0. So these fans, now they wanted my bag. My bag that I used to carry.
Or the famous small one.
Famous small
The one with the...
I will lie, you made the Louis ones very famous. I blame you. I blame you.
So this particular game, these fans came there, I don't know, this guy, they always beat us 1-0. There's something in that bag. So these guys, behind my goal, they were approaching. They had sent like 3 guys that were, but fortunately the security got to see them. And then they took my bag, but chief security had to stand behind my goal for the rest of the game. To guard my bag. But that game never ended, actually. So about 10 minutes before the game, the supporters, we were 1-0 up. They
Just got tired of
came
the
onto
1-0.
the pitch. They took the goals away. So the game never ended. They got tired of
They decided that the game is over.
but it was always a joy playing.
Just and also, man, there's a lot of history, man. Celtics, man. A lot of good players come from those teams, and I think they were the soul of South African football in terms of the fans.
Agreed.
They made other fans of other teams jealous for not coming to the stadium, because once they were there, they'll sing.
Yeah.
And you look at every team now, every fan is singing. It started where? Really? It started there with the same color of jerseys. And there's a small team in a small town. Same color of jerseys. They will sing for their players. Even after a loss, they'll sing for our players.
Yeah.
Today, guys, every team that lost, they go to their fans. They're still being appreciated. It started there.
Yeah.
So I miss Celtics because of they implanted so many seeds in the PSL that people now are using that as a blueprint.
Sure.
You know, and for them to play such a huge part and just to see them, you know, being, you know, to just disappear just like that with so much history, it was sad. You know, not just them, and like your Free State Stars, like your Bidvest, like he speaks about. I mean, these are teams that are competing, and it's just so sad to lose so much history from those clubs. But yeah, man, it was always, for me, I know they only love me now that I'm retired. They hated me, they Bloemfontein, but I always used to love playing there. And because of the mentality that I had, I like what Spider's saying, they'll swear at me, but I like the fact that,
like that pressure.
yeah, because you're doing that because you know how good I am.
Yeah.
You're not just doing that because you know there's nothing that I'm going to do to you.
You're trying to throw me off.
Yeah, but after the game, they'll call me to sing for me. So that's Bloemfontein Celtics fan. They've got a beautiful heart, and they just love their team, man. They just love their team. And I like that about them.
Yeah, on that note, I would just like to say thank you so much for joining us today. This is probably the most iconic chat I've ever had in my life, even being called an icon by an icon.
Icon living.
And I also I think I should actually take this moment to give you your flowers in the sense that you guys have inspired more than one generation of football that is coming, you know?
Thank you.
The influence gets less and less the more we go in time, you know. There's less single players on their own that can inspire a generation of players, a generation of or styles of play or a way of conducting yourself in a certain position. And, you know, the fact that there's so many kids who didn't see you guys play, but they'll be inspired today by how we talk about what we saw and you guys' accomplishments and how far you pushed the game and how entertaining the South African game was, you know. There was way more viewership in South African football when you guys were on. There was way more attention. There was way more excitement in the PSL, you know. And I just thank you guys that now there are so many people right now playing in things like the Nedbank Cup who are trying to emulate exactly what you guys have been doing, you know. The teams from all over the country in every division coming through and trying to showcase it. And I feel like a lot of that is owed to the legends that you guys are, the way you guys have represented us, and the hope that we have in taking the AFCON third place and going further with that. I think it all stems from you guys. And from me, the little flowers that I have here, I would like to say, please have these flowers.
Improvise.
And you guys at home, if you guys don't give them their flowers, I will come through and take your flowers, especially if you don't like, subscribe, comment, engage with this content. Because where are you going to talk to Brian Baloyi? When are you going to talk to the navigator himself and get the bars that you have been getting? Nowhere else but Podcast Yamang Yarona. Thank you for joining us on episode 3. Till next time, come on.